UFC 290. These are the full card predictions and the betting breakdown. Main event, Alexander Volkanovski defends the featherweight title against interim champion Yair Rodriguez. Looking forward to talking about each of the matchups on this card. Make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn the post notifications on and make sure to share the video as well. Also note, Saturday, July 8th, I'm live for the entire UFC 290 fight card. So make sure you guys tune into that fight companion. And let's get into our first fight of the night. It's Edgar Cháirez versus Tatsuro Taira, and it's a complete mismatch. Taira is going to bully Cháirez when they go to the floor, and he's going to win the fight by submission. Now, I do think Cháirez is a dangerous striker. You look at Taira, he was originally booked for a previous card a couple weeks ago to fight Clayton Rodriguez. That fight falls through. Rodriguez can't make weight. Taira now in a position where he fights Cháirez on short notice, coming in, tough savage, but not to his level, not to Clayton's level that Taira was preparing for, but a dangerous striker. I think that Tatsuro Taira is going to get a hold of Cháirez. He's going to drag him to the floor, and I think he's going to be able to pull off a submission here. I know that he previously cut weight, just a couple weeks before as he was preparing to fight, Clayton Rodriguez. It was the UFC Jacksonville card. 2 weeks out, I guess, officially from this one. I feel like Taira will be all right. I think his youth really will help with the consistent weight cut. He's only 23. The body recovers like that at 23 years of age. I think Taira brings Cháirez to the floor, and he's going to manhandle him there. And he wins the fight by submission. I mean, Cháirez has some nice stand-up. He's aggressive. He hits hard. He's got some nice knees up the center. I like him in the UFC. I think he's a fun guy at flyweight. But he's not going to be able to really fight with Taira. I was going to say not be able to strike. You know what? In pure stand-up, Cháirez is dangerous. But Taira, smooth with the striking, transitions in takedowns so well. He blends it well. And he's going to be able to find some strikes to set up the takedowns, which will lead him to victory. Win by submission for Taira. Official odds not released yet, but I can tell you guys what the odds are going to look like. They're going to be around 4-1. So like minus 400 Taira at open won't be very surprising. If you're lucky, maybe you get it at minus 350. High confidence Tatsuro Taira pick. He's the prospect on the come up. He's fighting Edgar Cháirez, who actually lost on Dana White's Contender Series against Clayton Carpenter. And I think Taira has a bit of a showcase here. Looking forward to this first fight of the night. Next fight on the card, it's Saaiman versus Terrence Mitchell. The pick is Saaiman. Terrence Mitchell, if you remember, was on the flyweight season of The Ultimate Fighter, where the winner would go on and fight Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson, and Kai Kara France knocked him out very quickly in their fight. He chinned him. Since then, I mean, he's been able to put some wins together, but, we'll pull up the record real quick. If you look at it, so he got slept in 2016. He's won 4 fights since 2016, and I mean, he was off from 2018 all the way to 2022. That's a long time out of the game. And you look at the competition level of those opponents, it's not to the top tier. He's fighting in the, Alaskan League there over, in the Great White North, man, real far north. I think that Saaiman's going to end up hurting him on the feet. I think he probably TKOs him. I'm going to say Terrence Mitchell's length is tricky to deal with, at the very least, if they do get into more grappling entanglements, because he is 5'10", long limbs, skinny, does have a pretty decent kickboxing game, I would say. But in this fight here, I do believe Saaiman, the prospect on the come-up, seems very schooled with his stand-up already at just 22. Nice stance switches. He's got good hand speed. I know he's developing, but he's fighting someone in Terrence Mitchell who really hasn't been fighting, a ringer of killers. And, he's also then out in Alaska, which, the MMA scene, I know Jared Cannonier originally, Alaskan, or from Alaska at some point. But I don't think it's to, the best of the best level. I think Saaiman has seen better looks. I think that's going to be evident in the fight. And regardless of him being 11 years younger than Terrence Mitchell, he's going to look like the better fighter, pretty clean. Mitchell's got a great record, 15-2, looks really good. But Saaiman is the 8-0 prospect, and I think that he's a pretty sure winner. I'm going to say he gets a knockout. I can see him hurting Mitchell, who's, tall and long on the feet, catching him with something, and potentially ground and pound. As far as the betting odds, minus 350, that makes a ton of sense to me. Terrence Mitchell at plus 285. Saaiman should win the fight. He's a high confidence pick. He's a massive favorite. This is Cameron Saaiman's fight here. Next fight on the card, rematch in the light heavyweight division. Listen, nobody asked for it, but they're running it back. It's Jimmy Crute versus Alonzo Menifield. I'm not disappointed that they're doing it because last time Menifield grabbed the cage, point deduction, fight ends up being a draw. I'm picking Jimmy Crute. I picked him last time. I'm picking him this time. I know Alonzo Menifield was dropping hammers on Jimmy Crute, but Crute was coming on strong with his grappling late, and he's 27. So there can be the constant improvements. I mean, Alonzo Menifield now 35. That fight was how long ago? 4 months ago. So not crazy long since that fight. They're running it back. I do believe Jimmy Crute can beat him. He was winning that third round. He came on strong late. If he can come on strong earlier, that would be a great sign for him. Alonzo Menifield's a bit of a wild striker who does have some thud in his punches. Jimmy Crute kind of just puts himself into stupid striking situations because at times he's just willing to sit in there and brawl when he is clearly the better grappling fighter, grappling technician, the person with the better jiu-jitsu on the mat. If Jimmy Crute can close the gap, get a hold of him, wear on him, tire out Alonzo Menifield, wear on those arms, don't let him rip you with big shots, don't sit in the kickboxing range for too long. Now, granted, easier said than done, but if Crute is able to do such a thing, I think Crute can win this fight. I think Jimmy Crute can win it on the judges' scorecards this time. I think he can take 2 rounds instead of just taking 1. He potentially subs Alonzo Menifield. I kind of think there's a real chance of sub now. I was planning on picking decision, but I do have a feeling that he finds a submission, man. That's an interesting prop, potentially looking at win by sub for Jimmy Crute when it drops. Now, Crute is a dog, minus 105. It's about even money. Alonzo Menifield, minus 115. I think Jimmy Crute's due for a win, man. He's down 0-2-1 in his last 3, but he's still a good prospect. And he's got really high-tier grappling. He's 27. I expect him to be able to beat Alonzo Menifield this time. We're going with Jimmy Crute. Showing the love to the Aussie. Next fight on the card, it's Vitor Petrino versus Marcin Prachnio. I think Vitor Petrino is going to knock him out, and I know his debut, he looked very raw and wild, but Marcin Prachnio is very hittable on the feet. Like, he's kind of really squared off. I feel like he throws a lot of feints, but he doesn't always, throw tremendous strikes. He doesn't have crazy power. He's okay. He's got decent kicks. I would say where Prachnio has the best striking skill set is his lower half. He's got really nice kicks. But Petrino is going to come inside with heavy punches, and I think he's going to be able to hurt Prachnio. I know Petrino's debut, it wasn't the most impressive. He still gutted out a hard-fought win. He's an absolute powerhouse with crazy knockout power, and I think that he can find the chin of Marcin Prachnio. I'm going Vitor Petrino by KO. I believe in the prospect, and I also believe in the matchup here. As far as the odds, Petrino's minus 251, Prachnio plus 211. You can see the debut is Anton Turkalj. Turkalji's got a decent ground repertoire. Marcin Prachnio doesn't really impress me there. I think Petrino can definitely match grappling. And I mean, Petrino is having decent moments on the ground with Anton in the last fight too. It's just, the rawness of him. He's overthrown his shots a bit, but I think he's going to find Prachnio's head. I feel like Prachnio lacks the head movement. I think he's getting slept. Vitor Petrino, knockout win in this fight. He's chinning him. I believe in the power. He's got the name Vitor. Vitor Belfort runs in the Brazilian bloodline somewhere, and I think Petrino's got a little Vitor in him, little Vitor Belfort power. Next fight, it's Kamuela Kirk and Esteban Ribovics. I'm picking Kamuela Kirk. I don't think Esteban Ribovics is that good, but he has a great record. He lost to Loik Rajabov in the debut, and Loik then got killed by Rebecki, and I feel like that really halted the steam that I had on Loik, thinking, okay, he's coming from PFL. Esteban Ribovics lost to him, short notice fight. And I mean, he had a couple moments in the bout, but nothing overly impressive. He gets hit a lot. And Kamuela Kirk has a pretty slick stand-up game. Ribovics, I don't see bullying Kirk in the grappling. I think Kirk defends takedowns, forces the striking, and I think he's going to be better on the feet. He's got way longer reach, a 6-inch reach advantage, and Kirk has that rangy stand-up style. I feel like, you know, I don't want to call him, you know, like a Conor McGregor type, because he's not. Obviously, he's 11-5, but he has slickness and kind of like a poised striking style where you can tell he's looking to snipe kill shots, where Ribovics is throwing heavy and hard. He's coming to bang, and he's eating punches. His defense is offense. He's taking shots right on the chin. Kamuela Kirk is a guy that maybe doesn't have the craziest one-shot sting, but it's not like he's never knocked people out, okay? So he's got a bit of pop in the hands, and if, you know, Ribovics is just walking into big shots, there could be damage done. I feel like decision is real possible here, because I feel like Ribovics, as much as he gets hit, can tough it out. But I don't know, man. Knockout might be calling my name. I'll call knockout. I'm thinking finishes. We're UFC 290 with a big cage. Is not the apex. I think Ribovics is going to end up getting dropped here. I like Kamuela Kirk. I think he's a great underdog. He's sitting at plus 170. I don't think Ribovics deserves. Look, line opened at minus 119. There's a lot of love on Ribovics. Good record, you know, prospect status, whatever. I think he's in trouble. Kamuela Kirk is going to hurt him on the feet. He's rangier. He's better with the stand-up. He has some defense at least. Ribovics eats punches to the face, and he's at a big reach disadvantage, and he's not going to be able to take him down. Kirk's going to outstrike him. It's about really now, is it knockout or is it decision? I'm going to call knockout. I'm going to ride with the side of violence, but betting-wise, money line, dog, Kamuela Kirk is the A side. Next fight on the card, Yazmin Jauregui versus Denise Gomes. This is a really fun fight because Jauregui is the prospect on the come up, and she's also going to be the pick here. But Denise Gomes is really fucking tough. Now, I'm not going to pick her just off the toughness. I do think Jauregui's better. She's slicker with the striking, but Gomes throws heavy shots. She comes inside looking to rip power. She's strong. It's just Jauregui's faster. She's a more clean kickboxer. She's got a better tight guard and is more crisp with her stand-up. I think that Gomes, she throws a little bit wide, and I see her kind of getting caught a bit down the line. Does work fairly well inside of the clinch, but I feel like the athleticism of Jauregui will allow her to avoid a lot of those spots. I feel like Jauregui judges scorecards, decision win. I'm riding with her, man. I think she's pulling this one off. 11-0, that would bring her up to, too. She's got a great record. Denise Gomes, I respect. I'm impressed by her. She's tough. She beat Bruna Brazil, who was an undefeated prospect last time out. But I think Jauregui has her way here. I think Jauregui finds the way to win a decision. Hard fight, but she pulls it off by decision. As far as the lines here, minus 450 for Jauregui. Opened at minus 450, and then Gomes plus 350. Massive underdog. I like that both these girls are under 25, and I think they both have good futures in the UFC. It's just, I think Jauregui definitely has the technical capabilities to go farther, and also right now, she's more primed. She's a little bit older than Gomes, too. I know it's only like, 10 months? Not really a significant margin, but she seems more poised technically than Gomes. Dog, tough Gomes, but I'm going with the better technician. I'm going with Jauregui to win it. She is a wide favorite, though, but I feel like she's pulling it off. Confidence is high, but the odds are ugly. Next fight on the card, we got Shannon Ross and Jesus Aguilar. I think Shannon Ross gets a UFC win here. I'm not impressed with Jesus Aguilar. I know he can bully guys in the grappling, but man, he's got the shortest arms on the roster. I feel like a lot of times he's just spamming takedowns and clinch work. I like the guillotine. He's got a really nasty one. Shannon Ross just needs to not be stupid here. He needs to not be shooting on Aguilar. He's got those short arms that can just strangle those guillotines out beautifully. Shannon Ross is the better striker. I think he can create space and land strikes, and the fact that we're not at the UFC Apex aids to my confidence on Shannon Ross, because he's going to have a lot of room to move and avoid being tied up by Jesus Aguilar. He'll get some effective striking going. He's definitely better on the feet than Aguilar. I don't think he should go crazy looking for a knockout. I respect the Mexican fighter's chin and Aguilar on the other side, but Ross can win this thing. He's got a fuckload of fight experience. He's a decent prospect. I mean, you look at some of the losses Ross have, they stack up. I mean, Steve Erceg is awesome. Looking at the loss to Salvador, he's in the UFC. Lost to Clayton, he's fucking dangerous. Jesus Aguilar doesn't bring near the striking threat of any of those guys. What he's going to bring is the pressure wrestling attack, and I believe Shannon Ross can defend that. And I think he can strike from the outside. I'm riding with Shannon Ross to finally get a UFC victory, man. I think he's pulling it off. As far as the lines here, Shannon Ross is plus 185. He's a dog. What did he open up at? Opened up at plus money. Aguilar minus 210. I think Shannon Ross is the better fighter. Aguilar is probably the better pure wrestler. But I think Shannon Ross can stop those spam takedowns, create space, strike, and I think pull it off by a bit here. I'm going Shannon Ross on the judges' scorecards in this fight. Next fight on the card, probably the most exciting prospect battle. Welterweight Savages, Sean Brady versus Jack Della Maddalena. I'm on the Jack Della side. Jack Della Maddalena, I think he's going to knock Sean Brady out. Brady has a really strong grappling game, and I mean, his striking is okay. He's pretty well built. He's one of those guys that can bully a lot of opponents, but dude, Jack Della Maddalena is a magnificent striker. I would say he looks to have the goods to be something extremely special in this sport. His boxing is off the charts. He has great head movement. I like his fight IQ. He's also very physically strong, and I think really defensively sound in his grappling capabilities. That's going to aid him to a win against Sean Brady. When you look at the stand-up, Brady, I think, is a dead man walking inside of that cage striking with Jack Della Maddalena because he puts his punches together like no one else, man. He rips to the head, rips to the body, finds his shots well. So smooth with his movement, too. Crazy power. He's the guy right now. Jack Della Maddalena is the prospect to keep your eye on. I think he's knocking Sean Brady out. I'm going KO win. Jack Della Maddalena, he'll be able to stop the grappling of attack of Sean Brady, and he's going to hurt him on the feet. Jack Della, knockout. Jack Della is a minus 175 favorite. And Sean Brady plus 150 as the dog. I love the Jack Della Maddalena side. He's getting a knockout. I'm a JDM fan. I think any fight fan is a JDM fan because the way that he fights is just so much beautiful violence that like you can't miss it. He can't miss action. He's knocking Sean Brady out. KO, Jack Della Maddalena. He beats the tough Philly Sean Brady. Brady also was stopped last time out versus Bilal. Obviously different styles because Bilal, dangerous wrestler, but can also strike too with a great gas tank. Della Maddalena's finding the kill shot. Featured prelim of the night. It's Robbie Lawler versus Niko Price. Guys, I'm picking the 41-year-old Robbie Lawler, and I know some people may say you're fucking nuts, but Niko Price at times, his arms are looking like spaghetti as he's throwing. He brings a lot of pressure. He's dog tough. He comes to brawl, but he gets sloppy. He's throwing punches off balance. There's a lot, I guess, of shots coming at you, and I mean, it's consistent that he's just, bringing pressure and toughness. Like, you look at Niko Price's resume, it's dog fights left and right. Luque stops him. Him and Cowboy go back and forth. Pereira beats him. Oliveira, he ends up beating. And then Phil Rowe TKO'd him. But, man, I'm just not overly impressed by Niko. And then I look at Robbie Lawler. I know he lost to Barberena last time out. But Lawler's also a southpaw. And I think that aids him in this matchup here. He's got a massive straight left and a big right hook that he can land. So with Niko Price kind of coming in a little bit reckless, having his hands maybe out of position, Robbie Lawler can time power shots. And I think he can catch Niko with a big right hook and hurt him and potentially get a TKO. Note this, it's Robbie Lawler's retirement fight, but days before the fight, he's getting inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame. I don't know why I'm feeling like that's going to aid to his confidence. I'm a UFC Hall of Famer, my last go, former champion of the world. Niko Price, Very tough, but, you know, gatekeeper journeyman status. Entertaining as hell in the perfect matchup for a 41-year-old Robbie because he's actually in the fight. I'm going Robbie Lawler by knockout. I don't think we can, you know, define him by the loss to Barberena. Ultimately, him and Barberena went back and forth. It was about a year ago. He ended up getting stopped. It was a standing TKO. He was getting touched up for sure. He was stunned. Nico Price doesn't have the hand speed of Barberena, and also note Barberena southpaw. I think Robbie Lawler gets a knockout here. I'm going Robbie. Robbie by KO for the win. He's an underdog at plus 220. Nico Price, the minus 260 favorite. I wouldn't throw down at a minus 260 Nico Price. I think Robbie Lawler is very live as a dog, plus 135. Now, 41 years of age, you got to decide if you want to bet on him ultimately. You know, it's just my take that he's getting it done. And I also think, hey, it's the last chance you're ever going to get to throw down on Robbie Lawler. So maybe you're considering going dog. You think Robbie's got a shot. Bet it on a 41-year-old? We shall see. I'm picking him to win, though. I think he's getting a knockout. Robbie Lawler, KO. He beats Nico Price, who's a bit too reckless. And I think in a war, Robbie Lawler comes out on top. Love that fight. Next fight brings us to the main card. If you guys haven't, make sure you smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. It's Dan Hooker versus Jalen Turner. And I'm picking Jalen Turner to beat Dan Hooker here. I really like the dynamic stand-up of Jalen Turner. He's a stance switch fighter. He's very quick. He's got good length. He's taller than Dan Hooker by 3 inches. I know the reach is listed as identical, but I just feel as though Turner's going to be better with his boxing from the outside. Hooker does shoot, kick straight up the center pretty well. He fights well from distance. I feel like Hooker does real well when he's fighting shorter guys, but now he's fighting somebody taller, long, quicker, maybe more in his prime too. I think Dan Hooker's getting touched up. I don't think he's going to go out horribly. I don't think that he doesn't have moments in the fight. I think him and Jalen Turner are in a bit of a back and forth, but Turner just clearly better. And I think he'll take it in a hard-fought kickboxing match on the judges' scorecards. You look at Jalen Turner's last fight, too. Fought Mateusz Gamrot and gave him hell. Literally, Gamrot was just trying to spam takedowns. Turner trying to hunt him down and strike. Gamrot trying to use that wrestling game. Now you get the right matchup for Jalen Turner, someone who's willing to sit in there and strike with him. Could he chin Dan Hooker? Yeah, it's possible, but I'm not going to take the Arnold Allen fight and say Dan Hooker's chin is gone because he's always taken some dynamite punches to the head at 155. I think that will continue. I think Turner beats him in a striking match, hard-fought win. Jalen Turner probably dominant in a sense, like 30-27, but Dan Hooker's still having moments. As far as the odds, Jalen Turner's a big favorite, minus 240. Dan Hooker plus 205. The line makes sense to me, though, because I'm looking at somebody on the come-up in Jalen Turner versus Dan Hooker who's like holding on to his spot inside of the rankings. Jalen Turner beats Dan Hooker, and I think it's a showcase fight. Jalen Turner for the W. Next fight on the main card, it's Robert Whittaker versus Dricus du Plessis. I'm picking Robert Whittaker. I mean, he's a masterful fighter everywhere. He's tremendous. On the feet, he's got incredible bounce. He's very slick. He closes range extremely well. Picks his shots extremely well. Hard guy to hit. And Dricus du Plessis is tough as they come. Absolute unit. The dude's made out of steel. He throws hard shots, but more reckless, not as technical as a Robert Whittaker. And when it's dog versus dog, but I know Robert Whittaker has got the technical capabilities too, you got to go the Whittaker side. I think Dricus du Plessis is going to try so hard here, and he's going to give his all to this fight, and Robert Whittaker is just going to be ripping him with punches. Dricus might land a couple. That will aid to his confidence, and that then he gets hit more. After that, he lands a couple, he gets hit more. He gets hurt in this fight. I think it's an accumulation of damage by Robert Whittaker that wears on Dricus du Plessis. As tough as he is, he was finished by Roberto Soldic. I think the Robs just got it over Dricus du Plessis. I'm going Robert Whittaker to win it. 3rd round knockout. I think the accumulation of damage is really going to get to him in the 3rd. Whittaker's going to put it together, and I think he really gets that, finally finish. Like, it's been so long since Whittaker's finishing a fight. We can look at it. It's been a while, but it's not that he doesn't have finishing capabilities. He's dangerous. won by finish against Cháirez 2017. I'm going third round TKO for Robert Whittaker. Would it blow my mind if he maybe plays it a bit on the safer side because he knows the title shot's on the line and wins a unanimous decision? No. But I'm going to say he does pull it off by a third round knockout. Robert Whittaker, minus 410. He opened up at minus 350. He's a crazy wide favorite. Dricus du Plessis plus 310. Whittaker is clearly better. Du Plessis, tough as they come, is going to look to bring the fire. He's a good prospect. I mean, he's a contender, really. And I'd love to see him fight Israel Adesanya, but unfortunately, they're throwing him Robert Whittaker before they'd set up that fight. And I just think Whittaker is too much of a mountain to climb. So we're going Robert Whittaker for the win. Next fight is the featured bout of the night. It's Bo Nickal versus Tresean Gore. Talk about throwing Tresean to the fucking wolves, man. Bo Nickal by submission. Tresean was the finalist, or almost the finalist, on The Ultimate Fighter. And then they, ended up running the fight back, or rather running the fight for the first time ever, him and Brian Battle, not officially for the Tough Crown, but really for the Tough Crown. And Brian Battle pulls it off. Tresean Gore hits really hard, though. It's just his fight IQ is super questionable at this point. I mean, Cody Brundage was able to TKO him. I think when Bo Nickal gets a hold of Tresean, he's just going to be way too much. The wrestling is going to be there. The grappling capabilities, the way Bo Nickal was able to sub Donovan Beard by the triangle, the way he transitioned to that, looked like Habib. And then Bo Nickal last time, kind of a controversial debut because he caught Jamie Pickett with a little bit of a low blow. Ultimately then was able to get the finish, gets an arm triangle. His submission game is top tier. His top game is crazy. He looks like he feels like 1,000 pounds when he's on top of you. Tresean, as soon as Bo gets a hold of him, he's going for a ride. And on the floor, he's going to get finished off. I'm going submission for Bo Nickal and probably early. Tresean Gore's best chance of winning this fight is probably the first 30 seconds. He just throws haymakers and like one of those crazy upset knockouts. But like the odds of that are incredibly thin. And that's why the odds are crazy wide for fucking Bo Nickal here. Minus 1,400 for Bo Nickal. And he opened at minus 1,250. Tresean plus 800. Bo Nickal for the win. He's going to win by submission. He's just way too capable on the ground. He's a great prospect on the come up, and they're throwing him somebody that's kind of like the right level for him here. Back end UFC middleweight with holes in his game. Bo Nickal by submission. Next fight is the co-main event of the evening. Brandon Moreno versus Alexandre Pantoja 3. These two fought on The Ultimate Fighter, the flyweight championship season. They then fought in the UFC. Pantoja submitted him on tough and then beat him by a decision in the octagon. And now they run it back for the world title as Brandon Moreno, I think, has evolved extremely well. I'm picking Brandon Moreno to win it this time. I think third time, finally a charm. He gets it right and beats Pantoja. To note about Pantoja, he's an extremely skilled grappler who is really good at getting opponents' backs. He's got slick transitions on the floor. He's very physically strong. He does have a really powerful left and right, but he's super hittable down the line. There's not a lot of head movement there. Brandon Moreno is clearly the better striker. He works a really good jab that I think is going to be super effective in this fight. Pantoja is going to be looking to climb that back. Moreno's wrestling is better than Pantoja's. Does Moreno have the cojones here to go for a takedown? He does, because Brandon Moreno is, one of the most savage fighters in the UFC. I could see him willing to grapple with Pantoja, getting on top, working a bit of ground and pound. I feel like there's a piece of Brandon Moreno inside that wants to strangle Alexandre Pantoja. So I feel like I got to go Brandon Moreno by sub, but I don't think he's just going to pick up Pantoja, slam him, and strangle him. I think we're going to have a war here. Moreno landing the better strikes, touching up Pantoja on the feet, wearing on him, breaking him down. We've seen Moreno go 5 rounds numerous times. Pantoja is now going to be pushed to the limit. I think 3 and 4 is where Moreno takes over. If I got a Mystic Mac around, I'll say 4th round rear naked choke. But I am going with Brandon Moreno by submission here. I think he's evolved more than Pantoja. And note that Moreno's not even 30. Took out Davison Figueiredo. I think he's that guy. I think he's touching up Pantoja with straights. That jab is going to be working. Pantoja at moments will have some success because he's a savage. He's going to look to clinch and tie up. Moreno, I think, can defend those positions and slowly wears on him. with good shots, and then eventually finds perfect combinations, finds a way on top to the back, and I think he's strangling a tired Alexandre Pantoja, who's really had the pace pushed on him for the majority of the fight. So we're going Moreno to win it, and I'm calling submission here. I love the nickname for Pantoja, the Cannibal versus the Assassin Baby, the trilogy. Moreno for the W this time. Minus 160 as the favorite. Pantoja, the plus 140 dog. Give me Moreno. Give me and still. And finally taking out his rival here. Main event of the evening. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. It's Alexander Volkanovski versus Yair Rodriguez. I'm picking Alexander Volkanovski. Yair Rodriguez kicks are off the charts. I mean, his striking game is tremendous. He's amazing. He's amazing with his kicks. Probably one of the best kickers in the world. You look at strikes that land against him, though. You're going to notice straight punches. Alexander Volkanovski works a very good jab. And I know some people will say, oh, but he's so much shorter than Yair. Volkanovski has a 71.5-inch reach. Yair, 71. Yeah, Volk is only 5'6", but his arms are crazy long. And I think that really allows him to keep up with these taller guys at featherweight because of his length. He can hit them with a jab from the same distance they can hit him. And it's kind of surprising when the shorter guy can touch you from the outside. Volkanovski has great kickboxing. He's really tremendous everywhere. The way he finished that fight with Islam Makhachev, ending up on top, throwing the ground and pound. His gas tank is off the charts. I expect him to keep bringing it to Yair Rodriguez. Fight's going to be competitive early because Yair is super slick with the stand-up, but Volk's going to land the better punches. Specifically, I see that jab land, and the straight punches are going to be very effective here. Yair is going to use straight kicks up the center and then try to set up things. I definitely believe Yair Rodriguez is looking to cause Volkanovski to feint one way and then go high. I think the game planning for Yair is he's looking for a high kick because honestly, the only way I see Yair Rodriguez winning this fight is a high kick knockout. I think Volkanovski outboxes him. I think Volkanovski outgrapples him. I feel like Volk is going to be putting it on him late in this fight. Some big ground and pound strikes. Yair's tough as they come, though. I mean, you look at his one loss by stoppage, and it was a doctor's stoppage when he fought against Frankie Edgar. But there's no quit in Yair. And you look even with his fight against Max Holloway, he had moments, ultimately lost that fight and got controlled on the ground. Volkanovski on top can be dangerous with ground and pound. Can Yair's toughness keep him in to go the full 5? That's a tough question I'm asking myself because I'm kind of thinking Volkanovski can potentially stop him in the later rounds. Working that jab, beating him up. But I think Yair's athleticism keeps him in it. I'm going to say Volkanovski to take the fight 4 rounds to 1. It might be 5-0, but 4-1. I think Yair's getting beaten up. But he's top tier. I mean, he's the interim champion, you know, regardless of his loss to Max Holloway. He's the #1 contender. And it's not by being a bitch out there. I mean, Yair Rodriguez can take a beating. And I think that Volkanovski's definitely going to put it on him. And Yair's going to slow later. And there's going to be moments, I think, in this fight where Volkanovski might end up showing some grappling skills, some wrinkles there. His clinch is really good. He's got a nice trip. Yair Rodriguez can be put on his back and flattened out. And I think Volk can beat him up from there. I'm thinking of Volkanovski ground and pound is possible in the later rounds, 4 and 5. But I'll lean that decision here. I'd love to see finish, though. I want to see a finish. Volkanovski for the win and still champion of the world. Volk is a large favorite. He opened at -425. He's sitting at -420. Yair plus 320 as the underdog. Volkanovski should win it. I mean, the fight odds-wise is extremely wide. I'd love to see it at 3-1, but you can't. Volkanovski's a dominant champ. No one's touching him in the featherweight division, and he's going up a weight class and finishing the fight on top, beating up Islam Makhachev. Of course, he's a -400 or more favorite here. He wins the fight. He takes out Yair Rodriguez, and then I think his sight is set on a potential fight again with Islam Makhachev, Volkanovski Makhachev too, or maybe he gives Topuria, the new blood, a chance to try and test him for his throne. Either way, both of those fights are super intriguing to me. First, he's got to get past a very dangerous test on Yair Rodriguez, and I believe Volkanovski gets past the test and with shining colors too. That is UFC 290. I hope you guys enjoyed the full card predictions. For those watching it a little bit early, I hope you guys are happy that I dropped it early. As you know, your boy's on a little vacay, but don't worry. We're back with the normal content schedule coming in Wednesday with this week's Best MMA Bets, and then a Thursday edition of Moneyline, Friday the Weigh-In Recap Show, and then Saturday, July 8th, is the UFC 290 Fight Companion. So bringing the content as always. Much love, my people. I hope you guys enjoyed the breakdown. Make sure you smash the likes, and if you're new, subscribe. Definitely let me know what you thought of the picks in the comments, and throw me some of your favorite picks on this card. And if you got nothing to say in those comments, but just enjoy the content, drop a W in the chat as always for your boy. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace, guys.